Now, a dramatic turn, of course, in Venezuela's political crisis tonight. Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, are in US custody in New York after strikes in Venezuela. They were moved from Caracas to Brooklyn to face drug trafficking-related charges, as Washington confirms the high-profile capture. Venezuela has rejected remarks by French President Emmanuel Macron, calling them unacceptable interference in its internal affairs. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Yvan Gil says Macron's comments reflect profound ignorance and has warned of diplomatic action under international law as it reviews relations with France. The Venezuelan government has firmly dismissed any external claims over its political transition. Amid these developments, former US advisor Evan Ellis says Venezuela's leadership faces major uncertainty. He says the Trump administration has entered a phase of coercive negotiation rather than an immediate democratic transition. Ellis says working with interim President Delcy Rodriguez remains uncertain, even as Washington seeks cooperation, especially on oil. Joining us now to give us some more updates on this ongoing and developing story is Kriti Mehta, a news editor. She joins us live from the newsroom. Thank you very much, Kriti. What more can you tell us about this ever-developing situation?
Tom, let's start with the reactions that are coming in from different parts of the world. Of course, the reactions have been mixed. There have been condemnations that have been coming in, but there are also some leaders that have supported Trump's aggression in Venezuela. Let's start with what China and Russia have said. China and Russia, which have long backed Venezuela in different ways, whether it's with providing their surveillance systems or military equipment, or whether China is concerned, we know that it has invested a lot of money in Venezuela, as much as $100 billion. They have, of course, condemned the aggressions, and I'd in fact like to read out the quotes that have also come in. China has said that it was deeply shocked and it strongly condemns the aggression and US's campaign in Venezuela. Russia, which itself is locked in a war with Ukraine, has also gone on to condemn Trump's forces' actions. Meanwhile, the other countries that have long been threatened by the United States, be it Cuba or Colombia or Iran, were the first to issue some of the statements that have come in. Colombia, in fact, was the first country, nation state to issue a statement, and it's also called for the United Nations to call a meeting, and that meeting is now due tomorrow. That meeting of the United Nations will be tomorrow, and of course, we will be reporting all those developments that will be trickling in. As far as the support to the United States is concerned, it's coming from many European countries. To begin with, France has said that it will ensure or hope for a smooth transition of regime in Venezuela. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has also said that although she may not be entirely in favor of the way that the US carried out its operation, she will hope for a smooth transition. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has also said that the UK will not shed any tears as far as the developments go. Well, that's all the reactions that are coming in. Of course, as more come, we will keep updating our viewers with that. Meanwhile, let's also tell them that within the US itself, reactions are mixed. Some of the Democrats and conservative Republicans have, of course, gone on to oppose, but mostly, as far as the Republican members have concerned, have said it is to ensure a free, fair and secure Venezuela.
Yes, thank you very much, Kriti, for providing us with that insight. Joining us now in discussion, we are joined by Dr. Emmanuel Yvan, an international relations lecturer at Tel Aviv University and senior fellow at the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security, joining us live from Tel Aviv. Also sitting with us is Major General R.G.G. Davidi, a defence analyst, joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on NewsX World. It's a pleasure to have you. Dr. Yvan, I wanted to start with you first. Now, of course, praise is coming around the world for this operation the United States has carried out, but also much criticism. Do you think this operation sets a positive or a negative precedent? Dr. Yvan, am I audible to you? Dr. Yvan, hoping that you can hear me. Of course, this has triggered a bunch of reactions all across the world from Venezuela's allies and its enemies. Now, of course, Nicolas Maduro, widely seen as an illegitimate leader in the elections which occurred last year. But in terms of the operation, as I said, it was an unprecedented operation. What, Dr. Yvan, what precedent does this set? Both the US's strikes inside Venezuela and also, of course, the capture of its leader, and then one cannot forget the governing of the country by the US.
Well, I think very clearly this operation was necessary and justified. Nicolas Maduro was not the leader of Venezuela. He was an imposter who stole an election, who turned Venezuela into a narco state that brought a lot of drugs to the United States, that constituted a threat to the United States, and therefore he had to be removed. Now, ideally, this should have been done via the UN and a Security Council resolution. Mm-hmm. But we know that the UN is hopeless, completely inefficient, dominated by dictatorships, including at the Security Council, such as Russia and China. And therefore, the United States cannot rely on this impotent and corrupt institution, which needs to be reformed. And the United States is entitled to act in self-defense to remove a threat to its security in the Americas. So I think this move was totally justified, even though ideally it should have been done, as I said, via international consent, but such consent is impossible.
Yes, Dr. Yvan, I want to move on now to Major General Davidi for my next question. Of course, Donald Trump announced that the US will govern Venezuela on a temporary basis before a smooth democratic transition can occur. With that, he of course announced the influx of US oil companies into the country, Venezuela having the largest known oil reserves in the world. What are your thoughts on the possible stability of a US-governed Venezuela, especially after what can be seen as a power vacuum has been left?
Well, Thomas, firstly, this issue has two dimensions. One is the internal dimension of Venezuela, the legitimacy of Maduro, and second is the action taken by US in removing Maduro from the presidency or from the leadership. Now, these two are the contentious issues. Well, on the first one, no doubt that Maduro, his credentials were a big question mark. He was dictator, and even the elections were not free and fair. So to that extent, his legitimacy was a big suspect. But the way US has gone about violating the international laws, well, that again is not in keeping with the global, protocols. Now, well, the Americans, historically, wherever they have gone for a regime change, it has not come out as a great success. And here too, I doubt that whether Americans will be able to govern Venezuela, that just can't happen, because people by and large do not like to be governed by external agencies, and they like to have their own government. So therefore, I think every effort must be made for Venezuelans to elect the government which is popular, fair, and also has a mandate.
Okay.
Thomas.
Gentlemen, stay with us as we have further updates coming our viewers' way. And former Mexican